Hi boys and girls, today we are going to make an echidna using air dry clay. So this is not like plasticine, it will dry out and it will dry out within a day. So we need to get this all done in one session, can't save it for later. I've got my water pot and that helps keep the clay a little bit moist but not too wet. And here's my little friend the echidna, he's watching us. We're going to make sure that we've got his shape that's going to start with the pinch pot, and then we're going to have his head and his beak as well. So our air dry clay, we want a piece about the size of our palm, much bigger and it'll get too tricky to deal with. So we're going to start with a sphere. We're doing our pinch pot like we've been learning about. So I'm going to smooth out some of these cracks that are beginning to form because mine's a little bit dry. Yours will probably be nice and fresh. And I'm going to make it into a sphere. Then we're putting our thumb in and with our alligator pinch, pinching and turning, holding it with my other hand, pinching and turning, try and get an even thickness. I can feel some areas are a little bit thicker than others. Pinching and turning. My fingernail's a little bit long, so I need to be careful not to cut a hole in the bottom with my fingernail. Pinching and turning to make our pinch pot. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of water there because I can see some cracks forming. Only the tiniest amount of water, you can see how much that is. Pinching and turning. I've got a few lumpy bits, so I'm going to squeeze a little bit there where it's lumpy. Not squeezing too much because I don't want it to be too thin. And that's going to be the basis of my body for my echidna. Okay, next I'm grabbing some little bit extra clay. This is going to be his head and his beak. So I'm going to roll it into another ball, a smaller ball. We're not making a pinch pot out of this one, a smaller ball. And then I'm going to do what's called a score and slip technique, score and slip. So what we need to do is not just stick it on because that won't stick. We need to score this area. So you do like a tally mark with scoring on the head and then scoring again on the body. You're just scratching it up and we're going to dip a little bit of slip, so it's a tiny bit of water. Can you see that little bit of water? And then those two areas are going to join together. Give it a little twist to make sure that the clay's stuck together. So we've done a score and slip and now we need to smooth it out. So I like to use the back of my fingernail to sort of push the clay from one place to another. So you're making a bridge that's all joining together, and that's what's going to make a really strong hold and not let the head fall off when it dries out later. I'm turning it all the way around so the joint is strong all the way around, and then I might add a little bit more water to smooth it out so you can't see where I've shoved the clay. And now I'm going to have a go at making his beak. So I'm going to pinch it, pinch it, pinch it until I've got an echidna shape beak. I don't want it too thin. If I have it too thin, it's going to break later. So about the thickness maybe of your fingernail will be plenty. And then I've got my basic echidna shape. So you can see how it's a pinch pot on the inside. He's got his head and he's got his beak. Now we're going to have a go at doing some texture to give him his echidna spikes. And how we can do this is you can scratch to give him all his spikes. Or another technique is to press in at an angle and you come out with a different pattern. Doing that all over his body. You probably wouldn't do one of each. You pick which one you want to do. I'm just showing you two different types. Okay, and so mine flattened a little bit while I was doing that, so I'm just going to open him up a little bit so he's still that pinch pot on the inside. I might want to add his eyes. Oops. And maybe his nostrils. You see how I use two different ends of the toothpick to do that? So I use the wider end to make his eyes because they're much bigger than nostrils. And then I use the pointy end to do his nostrils. Not very deep at all, just a tiny little dot. Okay, and then we're all done. So now we need to leave him out to dry. Make sure you have your name on it, but I think I'm going to do that for you. Okay.